Happy Monday, and more importantly, happy St. Patrick's Day. Two of us have abided by the rules, and if you've been drinking your green beer all day, no, your eyes aren't blurry. That we do have a special guest with us tonight here on the show. But more importantly, let's get this thing rolling. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope you got your green beer. Buckle up. It's going to be a hell of a show. But before we get started, gotta introduce this all-star panel. Like I said, don't adjust your eyes. We got a guest with us tonight. But starting off with my main man who's here with me every Monday night, the man, the myth, the legend, Gerald Smoke Dixon. What is up, good sir? How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. Since we're talking about being in green, I have to represent my other team that I repped in green, the Edmonton Eskimos, 2005 Grey Cup champions. Here we go. You know, I wear everything for a reason. We're celebrating.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, got a little bit of that Irish in you. Look, middle name's Magruder here, so my blood runs deep in that Irish. We will be celebrating today. But with that said, we got a special guest with us tonight, the man with all the Bama knowledge, but we're gonna make him test that knowledge outside the boundaries tonight. Stephen Smith, how are you doing, sir, on this? Fine. I'll say Stephen M. Smith. I have to do Stephen Smith because I will screw up and call you Stephen A. Smith.
I mean, guys, to be honest, I didn't wear the green, so hopefully I'm not going to get pinched right now. But I'm pumped up regardless.
Buckle up, buddy. We're not going to pinch you. We're just trying to drop kick you.
Man, we got a jam-packed show. Now? You just said somebody come in there and pinch you, Smoke. Dixon, Herb and Raj podcast hopped on. Smoke Dixon should have a statue at Bryant Hall.
You know what? The only reason why I should have a statue out there is probably I've taken out so much daggone free food out of there and fed everybody. Probably the man that took the most food out of Bryant Hall history. I might be legendary in that cat. But again, how about the Florida Gators picking them to win the SEC championship?
You might want to pick them to win it all.
Calm down. We'll get to that at some point. Just not right now.
Woo! Man, they're feisty. No, but good call. Gators did it. But look, stay with us. We got an action-packed show tonight. We're going to talk a little bit of SEC football. We're going to go around the entire league and take a sneak peek into spring practice and what each team needs. But before we get to that, got a cool story about one Jordan Mailata from potential rugby cast-off in Australia to possibly the best tackle in NFL. My man Smoke wanted to talk about it, tell his amazing inspirational story. We're going to get to that tonight. We're going to revisit history a little bit, or maybe not history. It's going on. Go back to the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade. Who got the better end of that deal? You know, we like to dig between the lines here on the opening kick, and that's when Smoke tossed at me. I did a little dig, and I'm like, yeah, it's actually a good topic. We're going to throw that out tonight. But before we get to all that, he threw me a curveball before we even got started. Our man Primetime, who's never scared to kind of ruffle some feathers in the news, threw something out that I think a lot of fans would like and be interested in about spring practice. We're going to get to all that. But before we do that, hit that like and subscribe. Give us some love. If you're on Twitter X, come over to the Bama Standard on YouTube. Hit that subscribe because we got tons of shows coming at you all week, giving you tons of that Bama love that you need in this offseason. Like I said, hit that like and subscribe. Before you do that, before we get going, one more time, sorry, you're tired of me talking. Give a little love to the people that keep the lights on. That is Lambstone Company, realrockstone.com. If you've dreamed of having that beautiful natural stone on your home, they can meet all your project needs. They're located in Aniana, Alabama. They're one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. Still got to get with Smoke after the show. We got to get that stone in that man's backyard so we can have it, you know, on one of those display calendars. But check them out. Tell them we sent you using the promo code The Bama Standard. Get 10% off your purchase of stone. RealRockStone.com. Check them out today. I know Stephen M. Smith. He's you building a house down there, man. You need some of that stone.
Man, yeah. Go ahead and give me a couple of that. Gotta go up. Aniata is only an hour from me, so I can actually take a drive. I can get some of that stone if I want it.
It's very close. And man, I don't know if y'all watching last night on American Idol, a kid from Aniana, all of them trying to say one Anna. It was hilarious. But kid made it through to Hollywood. His wife actually spent the night with his little, when she was a little girl, spent the night with my daughter when we lived up in Aniana. So watch American Idol. We're pulling for this kid, pull for the Aniana kid. Yeah, Aniana, man. It's a small town, but all kind of big stuff. Stone, all that good stuff.
Big city in Alabama. Huge city in Alabama.
Big city. But speaking of big cities and big noise, Smoke, you brought to my attention that Dion made a little noise on Twitter this afternoon with some spring practice thoughts. I think he was saying, I think the world would like to see me play Bill Belichick. Let's sign that up. What you think, Smoke?
Well, you know what? Coach Prime is always someone that's ahead of his time. He did that in his marketing ads when he was just coming out of Florida State, gave himself prime time, one of the first ones to get his own shoe, and just basically just be able to market himself at the highest level. But he touched on something I think that makes perfect sense. Every level except the college level has a spring type of preseason game. In high school, they have the Jamboree. Did you play someone different within your close vicinity of you? Then in the NFL, you also have now 3 preseason games. But in college, you go through spring ball, which a lot of people are trying to cut back, remove. Jed Fisher said he wants to open it up to everybody now to come out there at Washington. But Prime gave us a blueprint to what we need to look in the future. And I kind of, dialed it up a little bit and had my own way of coming up with who you play. And I think if you do it right, I think you can get this done. Everyone's always screaming about, let's get rid of the FBS versus FCS games. Well, let's make that a spring game, right? National televised, ESPN or wherever network that you have to broadcast it. But also have that within state. So, for example, let's say Clemson, Furman, or Wofford. So Clemson can say, you know what, we'll have Wofford this year. South Carolina say we'll play Furman. Played at the big whoever stadium. I would say you want to play at Clemson Stadium or that stadium that I've never won a game at in William Bryce in South Carolina. But you'll draw more attention to the college football game, but also help in marketing and NIL opportunities. But for a guy like myself, a talent evaluator, you have an opportunity now to have almost like a joint practice setting where you practice against that team leading up to your spring game, play that spring game on that Saturday, and I have a better chance of evaluating my talent. So if I do need to move on in the transfer portal, I have better action of doing it. And also I can poach from those FCS teams that I see live.
And it may be a way to save it. I mean, if you're not paying attention, man, spring games are going the way of the dinosaur. They're about to be extinct real fast if something doesn't happen. And I do believe that would draw interest. I also believe that'd be a way, we're also moving to an NFL format with scheduling where those FBS teams, look, the reason they come play in SEC school, everybody wondered because they get a big payout. Well, they're going to lose that once this goes away. That could be a way for them still to get the payout and then get that kind of interest back into the spring game. That's when we'll throw it to you, Stephen, as someone who's covered it from, the reporter standpoint. How much more interest do you see would that draw what Prime's saying in this?
It would draw a lot of interest, not even take it a step further than Smoke did. Could you imagine if you had a spring game where it was Bama versus UAB?
Or Troy.
How interesting that could be. Bama versus Troy.
Alabama State.
Alabama A&M. Yeah. Give one of those schools a shot.
Alabama A&M, Jacksonville State. You put some of those teams in the mix. Look at how much interesting that pot now becomes. You not only get the FCS schools involved, but the lower FBS, the HBCUs, people that you don't necessarily normally see. Right. And you get their talent out there as well. And that puts more NIL collective out there. That puts more eyeballs on you. That generates more revenue. And that really creates some good competition between the talent outside of the Power Five or the Group of Five that you got out there. So I would even look at throw Alabama UAB, throw Alabama State, or Alabama versus Bama A&M. Like that'd be crazy fun.
Well, Stephen, the only reason why I wouldn't take it to the FBS level versus the FBS school is just because now you're going to have coaches say, well, we don't want to play that tough of a schedule. Because you never know, Troy or UAB might run up on one of those special years and have like a really, really good team. But I think for the FCS level, you're giving those guys an opportunity to play against so-called the big dogs within the state. And I would keep it within the state just from my background as a director of football operations from an operation standpoint, because I would want to do a joint practice. So if that's just driving up on a Thursday, practicing on that Thursday, or drive up on a Wednesday, practice on a Thursday, a joint practice, have a rest day on a Friday where you can do the same thing as watch film, use the Alabama's facility. And I'm pretty sure they would allow that. So you can get your tape corrected and all that. And then come back on a Saturday, play the game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. You can have, if you want to say from A&M, come on down. I mean, from A&M, from Huntsville, come on down. Sell it out. Treat it just like a regular season game. Tailgate, hang out. But now the fans that are saying, well, we can't afford to come to a regular season game, yeah, cut the tickets price in half. Pay A&M for showing up for their cost of coming down, and so you take care of all those expenses, hotels and food and what have you. Bama's just rinse and repeat. They're not doing anything special. So the schools that are coming in, they can benefit from that. And again, as a player, a talent evaluator, as a coach, I always wanted to see what you look like, meaning my team, against the opposite helmet color. On Saturdays, we used to have our best performance and our best energy as players and coaches, just because there's a chance that you would have an audience and you're going into the stadium. When you get into the stadium, it's a different feel than going out to the practice field and running the same 7-on-7, 9-on-7, 1-on-1. It just becomes monotonous over the period of time during spring. And again, when you have this transfer portal, you want to give young people the best opportunities to be able to showcase their talent. And maybe that third string tight end at Alabama that's going to have to enter in the portal, he plays against Alabama A&M, and Sam Shade says, you know what? I like the way that guy looked. You have a place to go. Alabama wins, A&M wins, the kid wins, and everybody's in a good place.
I think they're all great. I think y'all both make great points, and I think it would be so beneficial for the smaller colleges. It becomes a recruiting pitch. You get that one time a year that you go get to play against Alabama, or like you said, then it works out for portal. It's just, I think it'd be a great thing for in-state. I think it'd be a great thing just to keep the spring thing. More than anything, I think what we're seeing is, if you're not paying attention, the impact Deion's having on the sport right now, he's kind of becoming an influencer. Nick was an influencer. When he said something, if Nick was saying something, he was planting a seed because he didn't like a rule. And he knew if he planted that seed, it would get spark conversation. Once that conversation got going, it would grow. Deion is becoming one of those influencers in the college game. Look, the money he's brought into Boulder, if you're not paying, is just unbelievable. He's done not just the wins, the financial, the resources. And when you start doing that, you become a voice. And Deion was already a name. I pay attention to this, because what Deion just did was plant seeds, and those seeds will get talking heads going.
And just think about this again now, Petty. The ACC just basically said the highest revenue teams get a bigger pot at the end of the year in terms of revenue sharing. Like, whoever brings the most Nielsen ratings, you're going to get more money. So Prime is planting that seed and saying, hey, listen, if I can get on ESPN2, Warner News, and my ratings are so high, and I keep people up and they want to watch us play against Montana State or Montana, yeah, we'll collect some of that money as well too in TV rights, so I can help pay off and help retain my team or build any way that you want to your team instead of structure and personnel.
Absolutely. And love it. I love it. Deion stirring the pot in a way that I actually think is positive for college football, and hopefully those seeds will grow a little bit. Knappy's got a great question. Maybe you can answer this, Stephen. What is stopping them? First, it's money and logistics at this point, but that can be worked out. But what are they actually planning on for A-Day at this point? That's a great question. I don't think I know the answer. Do you?
I feel like it's going to be kind of a they may have two different teams scrimmaging. You may have your A team scrimmaging on one side, and then your B team scrimmaging on the other, and there could be kind of a skills competition alongside that. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing. That's kind of what I'm getting from that. You may have an A team, B team scrimmage, and then just a skills challenge, or maybe a flag football thing, on the side right after that. But the board has not come out and just said this is what we're doing, but that's kind of the feel that I'm getting.
I'm glad they asked that and you answered it, because I can go. We need it. What we just talked about.
Yeah.
Prime just answered, just fixed, because nobody wants to watch that shit.
Yeah, come on.
Nobody wants to watch.
That's awful. If I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm an Alabama fan, and I drive down to Tuscaloosa to see a skills competition, and the 4s go against the 3s, the 1s go against the 3s, and then you're holding out the best players.
And then a hot dog contest.
Yeah, and you have a quick whistle. Yeah, I'm not signing up for that one. You got to figure out something better than that.
Dion, fix it.
Time's already put that seed out there, and I think it just needs some good sunlight and some good nourishment for people to take this on. I think I've got another question right here. That's a good one. What's keeping them from stop? I think Justin's going to pull this up. What's stopping them from what they're doing and planning on for 8? Yeah, that I thought he was going to ask me about how can Dion and them get it done. Logistically,
well, I can answer the what's stopping them.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, answer it. What can they do to get it done, Smoke?
Well, I think the easiest way to do it is don't make this into a game. Because the NCAA is going to say it's organized as another game. I think if you just have this as a scrimmage, I think you can get that done and just hold it as a practice. Keep it as a practice, and one of the practice, and just have an off-site practice. I think you can get it done that way. But I think that you'd have to clear it up with NCAA rules and whatnot about inter-squad practices. Because you can have – I remember back in the day when Stillman used to want to come over to get their heads racked in. We should do 7-on-7, but we organized that as players, and our coaches didn't do that, and that was during the off season. But I don't know if they might have to get some type of special exemption signed up for what Coach Prime is talking about, and just ADs and presidents getting their heads together and figuring out how to get this solved. Because the biggest issue right now, you have a lot of pushback from fans across the United States and alums like myself and you, Petty, that are disgusted with what we think that spring football is going to turn into. The fact of OTAs and that organized team activity model, I love it in terms of not beating guys up, but we still want to see a jamboree type of affair with two teams, like in high school. And I know, Stephen M., you're a big-time defensive line coach right now in high school. I think
Smoke, just not just from a coaching perspective, but I played 3 years of high school ball. That jamboree game meant something.
Yeah.
You had in the spring, whether you had in the fall, that jamboree game to see where are you in relation to the upcoming season. Where are you in the spring in relation to that? And if you had it in the fall prior to your first game of the season, where are you in relation to your regional competition prior to that first game of the season? So those jamboree games used to go off in high school ball.
Well, yeah, in Smoke, you said it, that different helmet. Anybody that's ever played the sport, after 3 weeks of banging heads against your own dudes, you're tired of doing that. So then you're told, hey, now I got to go play a game, which you've pretty much been simulating for 3 weeks. It's kind of hard to turn that light on. But it don't matter what. If you put any color helmet on that other side, it's like, all right, now I got some new blood. I can get something to get a little fired up about. That's what you're talking about with these jamborees. And man, Smoke, you talking about playing Stillman? People might bat an eye at that, but I remember Dinky ended up over at Stillman. That dude could wreck some stuff on that defensive line.
Oh, Robert Branch. That's
Robert Branch was
man. No Dick. That's my dude, man.
Dude was a one-man wrecking crew into that defensive line.
Good person. I talked to Dink last week. Week. I still connect with my guys.
But we're talking about fixing things. A lot of times when you're trying to fix things, you try to fix them with a trade in the NFL because something's not working. Well, we're looking at one that I'm not sure what side fixed what or what side won on the deal. Smoke brought this to my attention. It happened a few years ago, and we're still kind of seeing it play out. And it's not cut or dry. I think this is a good debate. In 2021, blockbuster to NFL trade, the Rams traded Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions for Matthew Stafford. Stafford had a little more, linked on the tooth, but it's very debatable who won that trade. You can look at it from a 36,000-foot view, who won immediately, who won long-term, or you can look at it brass taxes. I think that might be how one of these panelists. I see you got your hand up, Steven. You want to start this out?
You know what? I will, because I actually got to hop out of here in a minute. Man, I hate it, but I actually got to hop out of here. But I'm going to start this off, though. I think, honestly, both teams won the deal. Literally. Of course, you look at the Rams. They got the Super Bowl of Stafford. They got it. They got the Super Bowl. You got Stafford and Sean McVay together. That was a big deal. But I think Goff won too. Goff was able to go to a program in Detroit that needed him badly. And Goff gets there. Goff is embraced. They embrace Goff. Look what's happened. Detroit has gone from a laughingstock minus Barry Sanders and all of those years wasted by Calvin Megatron Johnson to now the Detroit Lions can knock your brain off your body. Now the Detroit Lions is like a team that's reckoned with Goff, with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Jameson Williams, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the guys they got on defense. And thereby, of course, you got Terry Arnold and Brian Branch over there as well. So I feel like both teams won that deal. Initially, yes, you could say Los Angeles because Stafford got him a Super Bowl, but I think in the long term, both teams won that deal.
Stephen M., you just sat on that fence and just got cut up all sides. You got to pick a side, man.
All right. Okay then. On Super Bowl reign, LA won that then. LA won that.
I like that.
LA won that.
But two things can be true.
Two things can be true, but Smoke, I believe you believe. I believe you believe. Boy, I got a lot of believing going on. That it comes down to one thing when it in the NFL, and what is that?
Super Bowl. You gotta get a ring in.
It comes down to it at any level that we all play. High school, college, pros. It's about the hardware. And I'm not saying that solely, but like you said, I believe the Detroit Lions benefited from this because you got your starting quarterback. You got a premier running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Sam Laporta in that from that draft, from that trade. You got Damo from that trade. So, yes, you benefited from a core group of playmakers and difference makers on your team. But the Rams, they wanted one thing. They wanted to get the ring, and they had that one player that could get them there. Now, when you look at it and all for the Detroit Lions, their window is closing very shortly. And the reason why you make that trade is to get a bunch of good players around a win-with type of quarterback, not a win because of. Win because of means you can put whatever you want around that quarterback, and he wins this regardless of whatever is around it. But when you make that trade in hopes of getting Jared Goff there and getting playmakers like this around them, but we haven't seen them get over that hump. And I think they have maybe one more year, maybe two more, until they have to pay Jared Goff that gaudy quarterback contract that now puts them in cap casualty of not being able to sign. I'm going to say Penei Sewell, which is the best right tackle in the NFL right now. He's going to say, you know what? I'm not getting paid market value. J-Mo is going to come up in the next few years and saying, I want to be in the 28 to 30 plus $1 million deals. Gibbs is going to come up and say, I want that. Sam Laporta is going to say, I want that. So the talent that you acquired with that in that draft and in that trade, you have to take full advantage of it right now. And that's what the LA Rams did. They took full advantage of Stafford that same year, got it done, and won the Super Bowl. So that's why I'm saying Detroit benefited from it, but the Rams actually won that trade.
I agree for now. And I agree with you. If the window closes, then they're going to look back and say, well, the Rams won it. But if somehow the Lions can get, a lot of injuries set that defense back. It seemed like every week they lost another defensive lineman. And that, but that's part of football. So guess what? That they don't get to reset it and say, well, you get a redo next year. So like you said, that's part of that window closing. And if that window closes, you're going to look back and say, well, man, Stafford went off and got his ring. And that's what we're ultimately at the end of the day, man. The debates with Marino and all the greats is he as good as the Elways because of the rings and whatnot. And
right. So if you even remember when the Cowboys made that huge trade for Herschel Walker and the Cowboys got all that draft capital back in the day when that's the one that basically set up the team for Emmitt Smith, drafted Leon Lett, and just the core of that team. Well, if you make that trade and you don't win a Super Bowl, you go on that run or being the team of 90s and the dynasty team in the 90s, well, no one cares. It's just a one big trade. Oh, yeah. But nothing came out of it. But if you use those picks and you go ahead and you win the Super Bowl, you got it done.
Yeah. I think
that's the name of the game. When you make those trades, you got to make it happen. When Atlanta traded up to go get Julio Jones, the Washington Redskins at that time, some felt like they won the trade, but I believe that trade was a wash because, yes, Atlanta got the best receiver of all time, got to the Super Bowl with that receiver, but never sealed the deal. They sealed the deal. That's one of the best trades ever. Same thing with the daggone when Johnny Manziel, when the Buffalo Bills traded with Cleveland to move up to go get Sammy.
Yeah.
With Cleveland, they took all those picks. They didn't do anything with it. So both teams washed. I mean, Sammy ended up in the better situation when he moved on and won a couple of Super Bowls, but won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. But when you make those trades, you're not making those trades to be relevant. You're making those trades to seal the deal and bring that cookie on home.
That's it. At the end of the day, it's going to be about championships. And if Goff fails to get one, even though Detroit is viewed as one of those snakebit organizations, is what it is. Titles are titles. And I think Herb, your man Herb's got a good question. Is Goff at this point in his career a win-with quarterback?
Always been a win-with quarterback. You never won because of him. Even when he was with the Rams, he got babysat. You have to babysit that guy for a game, and that's what McVay got frustrated with. He was like, I'm calling the best plays getting him up to the line of scrimmage and telling him exactly where to go with that football. We got to the game, couldn't seal the deal. You get Matthew Stafford to that game. Matthew is making look-away passes and throwing critical touchdowns in critical moments because he's a win because of talent at that time.
And I think that question drew out probably what sealed the deal in this argument for me. And you just made the point in the middle of it right there, Smoke. Stafford took over what Goff couldn't do and took the exact same team because they didn't change much from that 1 year in 21 to 22 with Goff to Stafford and was able to win the title because he was the guy that could make the extra play that Goff couldn't do, more of the manager, where Stafford could just make a play. Because here's the damn thing. You can manage all day long, but in the NFL, you're eventually going to have to make a play. That's why Mahomes keeps winning titles, because the guy just makes plays. Mm-hmm. And that's what Stafford did. So, man, great point, Smoke. I think that kind of settles it. Stafford, he's got the title right now. He was able to do what Goff couldn't with the same team. He's a better end of the trade. Speaking of better ends, the best thing about sports to me, Smoke, are the stories. And I think that gets lost in these. What did you say?
Win with podcaster. No, he's a win because of. He's a what's wrong with you? You ain't right, man.
It depends on if is Rod to win with.
So let me clear this up. Being a win with player is not necessarily a knock.
No.
There's only a few win because of players in the NFL. And most of the time, we're talking about the quarterback position.
I mean, Joe Montana's a win with.
Oh, absolutely. I would say 90% of all football players or quarterbacks that played in the NFL are win with quarterbacks. You're not going out there winning because of the average Joe.
Meaning, you can honestly start calling them out on one hand. Elway, Cunningham, Mahomes.
No, Cunningham ain't no win.
Cunningham, who did he have with him?
Yeah,
Until Moss.
So when I say win because of, I mean the Miami Dolphins when they went on that run, Marino's rookie year.
In 83 when they went.
Yeah, John Elway. When he went there in 86 and kept going back and forth. Yeah, we can't tell you, and we're two good guys that have a good knowledge of football. Who were those wide receivers on that daggone Broncos team? So
some of them look like me smoke. I'm gonna give you
like last year, what you saw from Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a win because of
great.
quarterback.
Yeah. Yes.
Lamar Jackson is a win because of quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is a win because of quarterback. Now, I would say that Joe Burrow is in that class, but he has a bunch of pieces around him. And I haven't seen Joey B play at that level without Chase or Higgins. I've seen what Patrick's done with Travis, but we also seen what he did without Tyreek Hill.
I've got to settle something. Herb, Petty does resemble Ed McCaffrey in one way, that we are white, white people.
There's only
outside of that, Ed McCaffrey has brother in him. like he's a dude.
Hey, Rod,
flag. I got to throw the flag.
Flag. We gotta remember who Easy Ed is. Easy Ed's produced Luke McCaffrey, NFL player. Max McCaffrey, NFL player. And Christian McCaffrey, NFL player. But having some knowledge of the family.
DNA. Mama has DNA too.
Mama, dad, that grandpa on the mother's side was an Olympian himself. So, want to give the credit to Easy Ed, but that might have come from the mom's side. But either way, take credit for it. Got the last name.
I did resemble him in high school. I was a receiver. I was Easy Ed.
Not Petty. Knock it off.
No, I did. Maybe the best quarterback draft class. I don't know if he'll ever be. That's a good. We need to break down all time great. That's enough. I'm gonna make
do that real. You want to do that real quick? Give me the guys
right now. Top 83.
Give me the guys in 83.
Oh Lord.
You
had Elway, Kelly, Assassin.
You start off with Elway, then you went with Tony Eason. That's a guy for the Jets. Like, you had a bunch of guys before Marino. That's a draft before Kenny O'Brien was in that class.
Wasn't Boomer? Yeah, Kenny O'Brien. Boomer Esiason was in it,
but he was later though.
Was Phil Simms? Was he the year before that, or
that? I'm not going to go on record as saying, but I know that's the Elway, Marino, Kelly. Those are the three guys that we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about the guys that got drafted in front of Dan Marino. So those are your three headliners.
Todd Blackledge, yeah. No.
And listen, I didn't told you that we're not talking about those guys. We talk about guys that can actually spin it. So now, the only other class that's going to be comparable to them, and that you got to get in conversation with, I'm going to say that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen class.
Wait.
That's the one with that's a 2017 draft. It's going to be in the only one that's going to be in that conversation. That's a Baker, Sam Darnold,
Patrick.
No, Patrick was.
2017 was Mahomes.
That was Mahomes.
Yeah, you got Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Breathard, Trubisky. Oh, Lord.
The year 2018. I apologize. 18. Well, that's Baker, Sam, Josh, and Lamar.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only one I would say. I would say that one is as good, if not better.
What was the Peyton 1996? No, because that was just Peyton one. It was
Ryan Leaf, Ryan Leaf and Peyton. And then you have the 2000 and the draft. I think 04 when you had Roethlisberger, Eli.
That's the one. That the 04 that was a good one. I'm gonna look that up real quick because I think that's
that's the one.
Because it.
I think
because you also had Phillip Rivers in that one.
Yeah, you had Eli went one. Then I want to say Roethlisberger went the second one, and then you had Phillip Rivers. So those are the ones that we're in conversation with.
Matt Swab, JP Lossman. That was a pretty good. Okay, yeah, some good ones though. But I still
Matt and JP and those guys falling. I keep telling you, man. Players. Players.
I'm gonna take Kelly, Marino, and Elway.
Kelly, Marino, and Elway. I think time will tell. So you got 1, 2, 3. And I'm gonna say I have 4 right now.
That's tough. That's tough.
You got Elway, Kelly, Dan, Josh, Lamar, Baker, Sam.
It's a pretty good one, man. And we'll see what level Baker and some of those guys get to over time.
What do you mean? Like,
Baker's balling, but he's not. You're not putting him with John Elway or
no. I'm just saying. Okay, so let's match it up. For who's your best one in that group?
Elway.
Okay, you taking John Elway or Josh Allen?
Elway.
Okay, and who's your second in that?
Marino.
Okay, you taking Lamar or Marino? It's a matchup.
Marino.
Okay.
I don't know. They're different dudes. That's a tough one, man. I like what Lamar
They're
does.
both quarterbacks. I'm just asking you, who do you want? I'm not saying either one's right. I'm just going through.
Dan Marino.
Good. So who's your number 3? Jim
Kelly.
Kelly? Okay. So for your Jim Kelly, I'm gonna have to say Baker. Okay. And you're gonna say Jim Kelly. But I got a fourth in that. Sam Darnold.
And there's not a fourth. Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
So by volume, I'm gonna say that class. But if you're saying Hall of Fame worthy, their career is over, and these guys are still continuing.
Still got a chance. And Baker's still got a chance to have a hell. I think Baker's got a chance to write some stuff. He's he's a competitor, man. I like Baker.
Isn't Baker this 2 years in a row that Baker's been in the playoffs? So what's the difference between, I'm not saying player, I'm talking about success. What's the difference between Baker's success and Dan Marino's success?
That great. Not much to this point.
That's if we're talking about winning, like, you couldn't play or coach the game any different way than Dan wanted to play.
Yeah.
And as much success as that Jim Kelly had in Buffalo going, but they're the first place losers for years. So
damn,
first place losers.
That's still got to be the most bitter pill for an organization, because as good as they were, man, they could not get over that NFC hump. All of this is debatable, Smoke, but what's not debatable is Jordan Mailata's inspirational story. And you brought this to my attention. I don't think I knew all the way back to a doubted 6'8" rugby player in Australia.
6'8", 340-pound lean guy. That's it. That's when he was just coming out in the draft.
They didn't feel like he had the endurance to play rugby. So he said, you know what? I'm going to learn to be an NFL offensive tackle. But I'm going to stop it right there, because there's a lot more to this. And I think Smoke wants to tell, because you've been telling me for weeks leading into the Super Bowl that, hey, man, not only is it the best offensive line, this may be the best offensive tackle in the NFL.
No. He's the best in the NFL. That's simple. I'm willing to say he might be the best offensive tackle in NFL history. We've never seen anything like this in terms of the movement, playing style that this guy has. Like, if I told you that he was damn near 400 pounds, would you have noticed it?
No, because he didn't carry it like a 400-pounder, like a potato.
No. And I mean, I think people that's Philadelphia fans, is like, oh, well, it's just a left tackle. All we've done is replace Jason Peters, which my spade partner might be out modern day the best one, or in conversation for it. And he just put in a 6'8", 380-pound tight end body that's really closer to 400 and is a mammoth of a human being. Nothing comes from the left side. He's dominant in the run game, dominant in the passing game, and he's just learning how to play football. And I think that goes outside everybody says, like, oh, yeah, they took him in the 7th round. He never played football. He learned how to play in the pros.
That's insane.
So I know you're going to say Trent Williams, which I think Trent is my favorite guy to study. But Jordan is more consistent than Trent. Chris Samuels. Chris was a very good football player, but he wasn't as dominant as Jordan.
Jonathan Ogden.
6'9", 6'8", but that length, his height, was a disadvantage when he played against shorter guys. That's why Freeney used to give him the business.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it don't matter if you're 6'6" or 6 foot against Jordan, because he can bend. Like you should see him run with the ball when he's playing rugby. He's a sick athlete that we aren't giving that much attention to, just because it's like, oh yeah, it's just another guy,
just another lineman.
When you study him, you drop your mouth and like, he can't be 6'8", he can't be 380 to 400 pounds and make it look that easy. He ain't no 310-pound man. It's 380. He was 340 when he came out in the draft, and he was lean then. He's big and massive now. So that was my take. I just want to go on my little soapbox for a minute.
Well, and I think the magic behind this story, though, is what you talk about, Smoke. Man, I grew up playing football from the time I knew how to go in the yard and toss it around. You get to America, I know cricket was your thing when you got over here, but you picked up the sport quick. You played it. Now, you picked it up in 9th grade, so you can kind of relate. You didn't do it right out of the gate.
Bro, I didn't do it against the best players in the world.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You did it in 9th grade, so you still could use your athletic ability. It's like, okay, these are just dudes. He did it for the first time against the 1%ers, and the 1%ers aren't the 1%. That's the 1%ers of college athletes make it to the NFL. And this dude shows up. I don't think people can quite comprehend. Like, you just don't do that. You don't do that.
The 233rd pick in the draft, 7th rounder, that had to sit down on the bench and learn how to play from practice squad, inactive, learn through playing against the best players. Like, he's going against Brandon Ingram.
Let's take it a step further.
Brandon Graham. I'm sorry, Brandon Graham. Every day in practice.
There's guys who have lab grown themselves. The Tony Mandarich stories, who just juiced them into robotic machines that couldn't stand the rigors of the NFL and couldn't do it after. That's all they lived and breathed, and made themselves football robots. And this guy comes in, a rugby player, and learns the game in a couple of years. It's
the crazy thing, Petty. It's not like the NFL hasn't tried this before with rugby players. They have.
He's not the first.
He's not the first. But the rest of those guys, straight line, stiff athlete. No. Yeah. This guy, lateral agility, footwork, balance and body control. And I don't think people understand, like 6'8", most of the time scouts are like, that's too tall for a tackle because he just can't bend. Man, watch him in the stance. You didn't even know that he was 6'8" until he stands next to that trash can of a center. And it looks like a daggone giant over him. Like, Landon Dickerson is not a small man.
No.
Dickerson looks small.
It's insane.
Becton is not a small human being.
I don't think and you see them on like TV and they're standing next to other giants. Until you stand next to one of these freaks, it's impressive what kind of man this is. But again, just to come from Australia, a sport he's never played, it's a completely different game. And you've said it, Smoke. There's been a lot of Australians kind of come over that thought they could do it.
Try it.
Yeah.
NFL tried it.
Yeah. It don't work. His story's interesting. You brought him to my attention, like I said, going kind of into the playoffs. You're like, you were talking about the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles not just being great, but being generationally great, and mainly because of the Mailata being such a stud. I'm with you. I didn't know who he was till you brought him to my attention.
And everybody said, "Oh man, Jalen Hurts is playing against the odds." And
Saquon Barkley's the greatest running back.
He has two Hall of Fame tackles blocking for him, and both of those guards are darn good. Becton was a first-round top 10 pick. Dickerson, if he don't get hurt, he finds his way possibly in the first round. He tore his ACL, and Philly did a good job of waiting it out and getting them at the right price for them. But for Christ's sake, man, it's not like Jalen Hurts is playing with some running around there like Patrick Mahomes was in the Super Bowl, because every single time that he put his back foot on the ground, he was getting pressure. Ain't no pressure coming from the left side, champ, or the right side, and most of the time not up the middle. So,
Tough as Nails brought up Australian punters. Have you ever made one of those jokes over and over because it's something you've seen in life, but not knowing that your joke you were making was true? I've made a joke like anytime, like, when we're losing this punter, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, you send in the mail order to Australia, and then they send you another punter out of their factory. Well, as a matter of fact, there is a punting factory in Australia. There's a legit punting factory in Australia where they're taking these rugby dudes or these kickers and like, we're going to teach you how to punt like they do in America, and you're going to go make a lot of money to just stand on the – wait, you mean because these dudes get over here and they're like, we got to go tackle these big bastards. They're like, no, you just stand there and kick. And they're like, hell yeah. It's legit.
What's my man named that played for the Chargers? He's a massive punter. This is back in like the early 2000s, late 90s. But, hey, listen, long story short, tough as nails. What you're saying is an exact science. Wherever I worked at, and I'm not going to dime any of these special team coaches out, you just track where I worked at, and they never gave two craps and never did any evaluation on punters. They'll call up the 1-900 number, 1-900 punters in Australia, and they'll say, hey, listen, I got a guy. And they would send them over to you. And that's why you had the rugby-style punting now in college.
That's all it is.
Those guys grab it and run to one side and punt. Yeah, so tough as nails. That's not a bad question. It's a great question, man. Stay locked in.
No, it is. And that's exactly what it is. Speaking of staying locked in, there's no better way to get locked into Alabama sports than with a title towel. Look, guys, March Madness is upon us. We are a 2 seed. We got Duke on the horizon, hopefully, if we can make a run. Get that title towel today. Go to WheelWheelSports.com. Tell them yo.
Bro, that was bad.
Did I jump at you? You about to get on me for jumping ahead.
No. You. I mean, you made Bama basketball seem like a Make-A-Wish program or something, bro. That was terrible. Hopefully, Duke is on the who gives a damn about Duke?
Oh, okay, man. Smoke's usually the naysayer. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you cook.
I'm a proud Maryland Terrapins basketball fan. Matter of fact, you know who I rep all day. You see it. Lenny, Bias. So I'm a big-time Terps basketball fan. That's first and foremost. But I do recognize talent. And what Coach Oates is doing down there, Moneyball getting the FCS players and lower-level players from the group of 5 and getting them all to buy into his basketball philosophy and the way that he teaches the game and how he wants to be played, unless they run up on Florida Gators. Okay, that's the only one I would say, you know what, they got to bring the A game with them. But Duke better be ready for Alabama. I agree with that. So, come on, man.
My bad. Agrees with Smoke. Petty, do better. Look, I'm going to do better. We got Mark Sears. We got Grant Nelson craning in there. We got Phylon with the best hands in the business headed into the dance. Well, if it makes you feel better, I filled out my first bracket today, and you know who I had playing for the national title? Florida and Alabama.
Ooh, Florida wins.
I'm not going to tell you who I picked to win, but I got Florida and Bama playing for the title. My final 4 is Bama. They're going to be playing Houston.
That Duke shit. I'm gone.
Bama. No, I forgot they play in Duke, and that's the lead 8. We got Bama, Houston, Florida, and I can't remember who the other team is. Don't matter.
Come on, man. We ain't studying no daggone Duke.
Ray Guy is the best. Yes, Southern Mississippi, Ray Guy. My dad watched Ray Guy in Jackson Memorial Stadium punt 80 yards one time.
Listen, Petty, there's a couple of positions that I don't talk about. I just told you how we used to get our punters. I don't evaluate punters unless I'm in the punting camp and I'm doing hang placement and all that. But on the strength of it, dude, we call the 1-900 number. Oscar, yes, we need a punter. Aussie style, yes. Rugby style, yeah. Send him over. Just what does he need? His visa? Yeah, got it. So we'll make sure that that's taken care of. That. Bring him over. 4 years, we'll call and get another one. But come on, we're not going to talk about punters.
You see Tan, Lenny Bias, and Coach Dreisel?
That is Lefty Drizel.
Oh, Drizel. Lefty.
That's Lefty Drizel. And matter of fact, his son and I worked together when we both were coaching at the Citadel. Chuck Drizel, proud graduate of my arch rival in high school, Springbrook High School. I went to the mighty Paint Branch High School. Y'all see it. Yes, sir. Love Game ball, too, Petty.
All right. Well, get that title towel.
Petty, I got some more hardware for
you. Show me what you got.
This is the class of 1999, right? 2022. Member of the Paint Branch Hall of Fame. Me, Smoke D. Come on. You didn't know that, did you? Come on. You got one too?
I don't have any
Are you a Hoffer?
I don't. Yeah, of nothing. A Hall of Famer in my own mind, Smoke.
Well, I'm gonna put my title towel gold jacket on.
So get your title towel. It goes good with green. Take it out to the bars with you tonight. Gold jacket.
Gold jacket. I got my gold jacket from Pink Ranch High School, baby. But 2022 member, the Hall of Fame class.
We appreciate y'all kicking around with us tonight. But, man, we've got one final topic that is a pretty good one. We're going to get – we've kind of been all over. Actually, Smoke, I appreciate you bringing that feel-good story. We need more of that in sports. Sports has gotten away from the stuff that matters, and that's the people and the magical stories like that. But back to matters at hand.
Ooh.
Spring football is around, not just for Alabama, all over the SEC. And we've touched on Alabama on this network. Go check out our other shows. Stephen Smith, me, Smoke, Marvin. We've been on some Saturdays. Stephen M. Smith's done some individual videos. We've talked about a lot of in-depth stuff on Alabama spring practice. So go check out all that stuff. You don't want to miss it. There's more to come. But we're going to touch a little bit on every team, including Alabama. But we're going to touch on every team's biggest question mark heading into spring. And what I'm going to do, we'll do it in alphabetical order, which that took me the longest. Doing alphabet in Mississippi is tough.
Oh, damn. A-Z.
Man, I was putting O's before M's. It was tough shit, Smoke. With that said, I'm going to throw out what I think is the team's biggest question mark. And Smoke's either going to say, Petty, you're right, or no, timeout. You've lost your damn mind, Petty.
You know what, Petty? I'm gonna go panic button. I'm gonna hit the panic button tonight. So we only had to go because you say you struggle with the numerical thing. Alphabetically, it's kind of up in the air. And what we don't want to do is discriminate. So all we're going to do is either I'm going to flash up the title towel, that's a red alert, or I'll leave it down and just say we have it under control.
Good stuff.
There we go.
All right, that's how we're going to play this. But what I am going to do, since Alabama starts the alphabet, and y'all are Alabama fans, I'm going to make you wait just a little bit. We're going to go in reverse and start with Vandy. We're going to turn it around.
Okay.
Let's start off with Vanderbilt. Smoke. Clark Lee, your guy, you were all over him this year. You've got a great connection. You worked at Vanderbilt. You're a big fan of Lee and his vision. You told me what a cerebral guy he was before the season. He takes Vanderbilt to heights we haven't seen since James Franklin. Big win over Alabama. His quarterback, Pavia, wins a huge decision with the NCAA to extend him for one more year.
Here we go.
I think the biggest, of course, the 36,000-foot biggest question mark is, can Clark Lee maintain where he got Vandy to standards they haven't seen in years? But I think deeper dive is you got to have some guys on that defensive line, and I don't know if they do to continue to compete. Smoke.
You know what? I'm going to say, can Clark Lee continue the success? Absolutely. Just because he's just not selling a one-year product. He's been invested in Vandy since he was a player there. I mean, this guy bleeds Vandy through and through. So they'll have to attack the portal a little bit more and get some more size up front. But I do believe they can get to a 6 win and get back and continue on that bowl game run. I'm not ready to hit the panic button on them yet, just because their bar is not that high. Their bar right now, they're in that same phase of figuring out, what do we need to do to maintain this right now? So they're at the stabilizer level. And defensive linemen, they didn't live a ton of them, but they just got to replenish that with the same attitude, the same play.
Well, let me ask a program question then, because you worked for this program. Is Vanderbilt at a place as a program within an SEC that's growing into a machine that's not stoppable right now, where if they do win 6 again, look, that's going to put Lee's name out there as, hey, this guy can coach. If he can do this at Vanderbilt, he can do it in anywhere. Is Vanderbilt at a place where they can keep Lee and build off this, or is he will his name grow and possibly get a better job off of this?
You know what? If it was for anybody else and not knowing Coach Lee, and I hope that I don't mess his money up with any opportunities if anybody else wanted to give him one, because I think if any AD out there that wants to hire a coach that can get a program going in the right direction and sustain it, but he is Vandy through and through, man. I mean, born, raised in Nashville. Pop's still around. Pop still comes around the building. His kids. His best friend, Barton Simmons, is his general manager. His dream school is Vandy, and his dream is to see Vandy win an SEC championship. And I believe that he just has that natural energy, and he just bleeds that every single day. that unless somebody comes and drops a bag that he just can't refuse, and if you haven't lived in Nashville, bro, it's no state income tax, man. So no, I don't believe Coach Lee's going anywhere just because I think that's just the guy that he is. He wants to see
and what you just said, Nashville's a great city. I feel like it's almost like a volcano that could erupt with it. You hear that Mark Cuban's daughter goes there. All it takes is one Mark Cuban to say, you know what, I want to put a little change into this NIL, and Vanderbilt's right there. Before we get to Texas A&M and always come in with the $4.99 super chats, and we love you and appreciate you. So gotta love content, Petty and Smoke. Gotta love the show. We love you, Ann. We love you for showing up even on St. Patty's Day. We hope you were having a wonderful night. If you're a beer drinker, we hope it is green and you were enjoying it. If not, we just hope you're having a wonderful night.
We got to put one of those Marvin Constant books in one of his autograph picture where you think he's some type of model or something with his clothes out. Digitally. It's filtered picture and send it to some of our fans out there, man. Because I know they don't want no.
Did autograph Marvin shirtless Marvin pics?
Yeah. No. He was kind of chubby in his high school. He just looked massive. Right now, he says he's chiseled up. You don't want to see high school Marvin.
He is, dude is God. I like to rag on him, but the dude is a freak, man. He's like
unreal.
It is absurd. I tell the joke. Me and my wife were talking about it at dinner tonight. I was telling my daughter about Marvin and showing her the picture at high school. No, we were out when we came for the South Florida game. We were out having a few cocktails, and Marvin's arm looks flexed at all times. And my wife had a drink or two, and finally I looked over and she reached over and just poked. She said, "I just see if it was real, like if it just wasn't."
Petty, I'm throwing the alert button.
What's the alert?
What you're saying is an alert right now, Petty. You're saying that you're at dinner poking Marvin's picture. Knock it off.
No. They ain't poking his pic. We're at dinner. Marvin's sitting there looking like, the Incredible Hulk, and it don't look real. I'm telling you, it don't look real. So it was funny moments. All right, moving on. We got teams to discuss. We got a whole SEC, and we just gotten through Vanderbilt. Like I said, we're going in reverse. So we got to go out to College Station in Texas A&M. Year one under Mike Elko, cleaning up the billion-dollar mess that was A&M's roster, which that's why I bring this up. That's the thing about A&M. And I don't know if I can go into a certain position because they've got talent at all of them. They've been recruiting like hell. They found their quarterback at the end of the year. That kid was
Marcel Reed.
Marcel Reed is a hell of a quarterback. Texas A&M seems like that team, you can't sleep on them because of the talent, but then you go to sleep on them because they just seem to find ways to lose every year. My question is, can Elko take this talent and finally turn it into a real contender?
When you mean a real contender, you mean getting to the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Marcel Reed, just like Nico and DJ Lagway, that's a new wave. That's a new wave of quarterbacks in the SEC. And then you give Micah Hudson in the transfer portal. In the 2024 class, one of the better receivers, Kevin Concepcion from North Carolina State, one of the dominant receivers as a freshman. You put pieces around Marcel Reed like that, you're going to get explosive plays on Saturdays in College Station and anywhere else that they show up. Defensively, you don't ever have to worry about Elko. Elko's going to make sure that that defense gives you a chance to at least compete, but also win games. So, no, I think they're in a good position. I think, yes, they can get to the playoffs.
Okay.
With Elko.
Moving over to their rival and new SEC. There's only one question. We know the talent's there. We know Sark can coach. We know got the talent on defense. And and this is when your name is what it is. The question's coming when you become the starter. Mm-hmm. Can Arch be another Manning? And that's what takes Texas to the next level. Can he be?
Well, he can't be. I hope that he's better than the other two Mannings. The other two Mannings didn't win a national championship.
Very true.
So the question is, can he be the first Manning to win a championship in college?
Or a Heisman?
I think he can do both. Just because you have one of the best play callers in college football. And even though Quinn Ewers was the starting quarterback last year and the year before, you never believed in Quinn Ewers' skill set. Or is he going to be available? And that was the biggest thing. Every week it was something, an oblique.
Yeah, come on.
Get touched. high ankle. Like, bro, no one was all right. But it was always something, a freakish injury that was always setting back the program in terms of play calling and just continuity. With Arch, you have a dual threat player that can throw the ball well enough, and C.J. Baxter Jr. is coming back, running the football. I am never in my life going to worry about Steve Sarkisian being able to call plays to score touchdowns. The only thing that I'm worried about, it ain't Arch. It's Sark. Can you make this simple and just go get 2 yards when you need 2 yards and play and call the game dirty at some point and stop trying to be cute and create plays that you don't necessarily have to do? You put my man Arch in the situation when all they have to do is get 1 yard and run it downhill instead of going sideways. Yeah, we might be having a different conversation right now in terms of national championship.
And that's what I think separates him from his two uncles. And for 2 decades, we got inundated with Manning's being the statue, the read the defense guys, but no mobility at all, straight statues.
Right.
But what made their father famous was his ability to scramble. Archie was a runner. I mean, you go back and watch his highlights. Archie was a deer. And I think the irony is this one, Arch's name is Arch, and he much more resembles his grandfather's game than he does his uncle's. And that's what you say, Smoke. And I think that's what puts him over the edge in this new era of football where you want a quarterback that can stretch the defense. He's going to be able to get that yard or two where the other two can't. I expect big things from Arch, to be honest. And given who he's with Sarkisian and the talent around Texas, man, Texas is going to be a problem. Tennessee. Nico, can he take the next step? Just that. But my question isn't Nico. It's not that at all. It's can they replace the defensive line? They lost a lot of it to the draft. But, man, Heupel's brought in 2 more 5-star receivers since Nico. It's can they bring in the weapons around him? You're holding it up.
This one right here, I'm hitting the panic button on this one.
Okay.
And I think the defense is going to be fine. I think Coach Banks – he's figured it out. I don't think defense is ever going to be a problem moving forward.
Okay.
For Tennessee. Just because of the attitude adjustment, and they're figuring that you have to run the football and play tough in the trenches, but the quarterback position is the one that tells me if you're going to win a national championship or not. And when I listened to Josh Heupel's presser about one Nico, I didn't come away from that feeling the same way of listening to Sark speak about his quarterback. I came away with questions like most of us had last year when you saw Nico and his lack of development and growth from year 1 to 2, because this is his 3rd year.
Yeah.
When I hear your head coach saying, he needs to throw the ball on time, see the field, make proper reads. Like, you're not going to get into a simpler offense in college football than Tennessee Volunteers. The receivers don't even switch sides. They only have 2 runs. Inside zone left, inside zone right. And they'll have a quarterback zone right there. But it's not a complicated offense. So when you're telling me that you can't process, and I'm watching the game, and I'm seeing you throw into coverage, and there's wide open guys, now it puts me in a panic of just saying, where are you at in your overall quarterback development? Forget the players. You can have as many players as you want. You got to get those players the ball at the right spot so they can advance downhill.
Well, they brought in their redshirt freshman, the Merklinger kid. He was a 5-star, and they've got another 5-star committed, maybe Faison. He's bringing in. He's going to have to compete.
Yeah.
Just to answer real quick, Chris, you said, why are we discussing opponents here? We're not ESPN, LOL. We are ESPN, Chris. I don't know where did you tune into tonight? No, Chris, check out. Look, we've got tons of videos that are going in depth on Bama's spring, the Bama Standard flagship on Tuesday nights, all Bama going hard in the paints, Bama basketball, Sunday night talking Bama. This is the one night of the week on the opening kick. Me and my man Smoke kind of go all over the sports world. We know you love your Tide, but we kind of give you a little bit of break and talk a little bit about the other teams just to talk a little bit of ball. But so sorry, man. I know it's not an all Bama show, but bear with us. We are going to talk a little bit of Bama. And
we'll get to your Crimson Tide. We'll get there. Calm down.
All right, South Carolina. Look, man, everybody talks about Bama being the team that just missed, Ole Miss being the team that just missed. Well, guess what? South Carolina was that other team that just missed. You love to bring up Dylan Thompson on that defensive line. Lenore Sellers. Dylan Stewart. Yeah, not Tom. Sorry. I think Thompson might have been the other kid that, but Lenore Sellers really kind of took the scene last year with his legs, but we're hearing his progression has really been in the passing game. They lose the big time cornerback, but it seems like South Carolina just produces NFL cornerbacks. Can they maintain? Does Beamer? You were kind of hard on Beamer before the season. I didn't give him as much love as I should have. I said he'll sneak up and win a game or two, but
when you say I was hard on Beamer, what do you mean? You mean I didn't get him right? I wasn't accurate on him?
You gave Beamer a hard time.
That there's always talent there, but we don't see it in the results of 10-win seasons. It's always 8-ish, 9-ish, almost there. But but listen, it's not that we're not going to pile on Shane, because I think he did an outstanding job last year of getting his team to where the best that they could do last year. Now, I'm always going to say pause for a second in terms of seeing and hearing about someone throwing the ball well in practice. I don't want to hear it. Show me when the bullets are flying, not in a simulated spring situation either, because I know how that goes. Your coach can call it the right play, so you look good to a national televised audience. I want to see it when it's 3rd and 5, 0 blitz. You standing in there, make pressure throws, just like DJ Lagway did. I went on this with my guy Brad Crawford the other day on the 247 website in our channel, just talking about it, that I thought that DJ was ahead of Lenore Sellers just because of his ability to actually pass the football. Now, running the football, Lenore Sellers is a problem.
He's dynamic.
He's dynamic, explosive runner. But in order to play the game the right way, they got a 5-star in Nick Harbor that took off from the indoor track scene and also taken out from outdoor track scene for him to become a better football player. So if Sellers and Nick Harbor can connect in terms of receiver, quarterback combination, we might have something. But if neither one of those guys get developed within their particular skill set at their position group, you're going to still have an 8-9 win team just because they're going to play good defense. They got a closer in Dylan Stewart. And you have a guy, Lenore Sellers, that can create plays on offense, just running it. But when you play against the upper echelon groups, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the team that's going to force you to throw the football because they're going to play with 8-man box, 8 people within a 7-yard radius. You're going to have to throw the football. And we want to see you do it consistently.
Consistent. And that's the key. And I think that's going to ring true with one of the other teams we talk about. Actually, the next team that comes up on the list. I think these two coaches are going to have the same question marks. Is Beamer can coach those games like you see in Tuscaloosa where they take it to a 2-point conversion or they pull the big upset. But you see them lay the eggs where they lose by 25 at home to Ole Miss. He has games where he completely lays it. The team doesn't just show up. And, one thing in this league, you can do it one week and that's great, but you got to be consistent or you're going to get left out of the playoffs.
Especially in the SEC.
And that's a great segue into the next team because that was their problem. One week they look like the best team in college football and they beat Georgia, and then you go to Gainesville and lose, or you lose at home to Kentucky. I don't think the question in Oxford is ever going to be quarterback. I know they lose Jackson Dart, and that's the big name. As long as Kiffin's there, I'm honest. I'm not worried. And what I'm hearing out of the Austin Simmons kid, this kid's probably going to be special. Just be prepared. Austin Simmons is special. He's 6'4", left-handed kid. He left school his sophomore year.
Double reclass.
Yeah, double reclass. He's heady. And Kiffin's got him a real deal quarterback. But that's not the question at Ole Miss. And I know a lot of people, I threw it out there because Dart's leaving. The question to Ole Miss is their defense. Their defensive that people sleep on because that's where they're weak. But Ole Miss had the best defensive line in the SEC last year, and all 4 of those dudes, Ivy, Pegues, Umami Allen, Walter Nolan, they're all gone. You're replacing the 4 dudes that made your team different last year, that made you be able to compete with Georgia. That's the question mark. Can Ole Miss replace that on the defense to be able to get back in the conversation?
And you know what? That's the big question mark for me, too. By names and bodies, yes. William Eccles. You know that name?
Yeah, well, freshman defensive tackle. See, they've got some freshmen. William Eccles, Kamari Franklin, those type of kids, big-time prospects.
Get to know those names. And what you saw, and I know Marvin Constant is one of the guys that beat up. Oh, Pete. Leave Pete alone. Pete showed up last year and showed the United States in college football the best defense in the SEC, which is Ole Miss. And I'll keep saying, whenever you have a coach that can take care of the front seven, you need somebody in the back end that can take care of the back four. Wesley Neighbors, Bama boy, North Alabama, was on the coaching staff with us at Maryland, had those two safeties right, Bo Braid and Dante Trader. Both of those guys won't get drafted. Well, both of those guys won't play in the NFL. Bo didn't get drafted, but he made the Baltimore Ravens team. But when we got Wes Neighbors, all he did was just stabilize that Nick Saban defense because he knew it from the back end forward. And whenever you see a good Saban ran defense, that 3-4 chaotic, blitz you in your face defense, adjust to everything that you do, whoever's the guy in the back end, that's the most important one. And Pete got his guy, and he tied it all together. So I don't have any concerns about what they're going to do defensively because they're going to figure a way around it and figure a way out of it. And they have talent. You and I are just going to have to see those guys grow up. And defensive linemen don't truly show up the first week and like, oh, my God. It's the grind through the season and the way they prepare and the way they play is going to tell you if this is or if they're the real deal.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. Ole Miss, where they were the strongest, they do have a lot of young talent. That talent's got to step up to replace what left for them to be in that conversation they were last year. Next team, I don't think this is even a debate. It's Oklahoma. We don't have to worry about their defense as long as Venables is there and he's putting more time on the defense. It's this infusion from Wazoo. You got Arbuckle. You got their quarterback Mateer coming with him. Can that offense do anything? You're throwing the flag on me. I guess I need to worry about defense too.
Yeah. Okay. Here's my, and I'm going to make it real quick. I'm always going to tell you whenever a coach, a head coach, takes over a side of the ball, just because that side of the ball is struggling, that's a recipe for disaster.
Oh, okay.
And you're going to say, well, Sark does it on offense. Okay, Sark, he's always called it. And his defense has never been an issue. Defense has always been taken care of. It's his game management and game calls that Sark misses out on because he doesn't see the flow of the game because he's worried about his offense. Brett Venables, you're the head coach. Your job as the head coach is to coach the coaches. Arbuckle comes over, so you don't have to worry about the offense. And I get it. John Mateer is going to get it right. You hire Jim Nagy in there to take care of the personnel. Fine. But when you are so inundated in a defense, trying to stop the team, you lose track and you lose focus of what you're supposed to do, and that's manage the entire game. When you fire your OC, you get rid of your quarterback. Yeah, that's one button that you push. When you take over and say, I'm going to call the defense, yeah, that's a second button that's getting pushed. When you say that when a new personnel guy comes in and he takes over, that's a third button to get pushed. So, yes, high panic in terms of also that schedule is hell. So, yes, they're missing the playoffs.
And I'll say this, man, Oklahoma, regardless of what you see their program at right now, I was watching some news articles in preparation for this show, and I happened on like a news station out in Oklahoma, and every word out of their mouth was, we were a blue blood program. We went 6-7 2 years in a row. There's an expectation at Oklahoma. If he don't meet it this year, if he not just missed the playoffs, if we're 6-7, 7-6 range, he might be looking for a new job.
The buyout is crazy. That's another thing.
The buyouts are crazy, but so are fans and this money in this era. But speaking to people, you ain't got to worry about buyouts. The question is, can they maintain? They're kind of the low-key, most steady program outside of Ole Miss, not named, of course, Bama and Georgia the last few years. And that's what Drinkwitz is doing at Missouri, man. Question is, though, for me, you've had Locke. He did it with a steady quarterback, as you know, and then you're losing Luther Burden. You're losing a lot of talent. You're losing Weiss at receiver. There's a lot of talent leaving that offense in Missouri. Can he replace it and keep Missouri in that, hey, man, competitive for 9-10 win spot?
Well, Petty, I'm going to say yes. We got a transfer from Penn State to come in and play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the schedule lines up perfectly for Mizzou. All they got is Bama, and South Carolina, and both of those games are at home. So no, I think Drink is fine. I think this is Drink's time to get 10 with this team in that schedule.
Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State, man. They get when you get the backup quarterback from Florida State, I know he was a 4-star in the transfer portal. I just don't. Is the talent there at State to compete?
Hey, pour out a little liquor for my guy Shad Williams, the strength and conditioning coach over there.
Oh, is Shad the strength?
Pour out a little liquor for those guys. It's going to be harsh one, Petty. Keep on going.
And I think the problem there, man, real quick on State, even in the down year, State's always had a hallmark of being a nasty defensive football program, and that's gone. They didn't stop water last year, and if they can't even do that, they're in trouble. So yeah,
Lebby's the guy that scores points. If you ain't scoring points, you damn sure ain't stopping nobody. Pour out a little liquor, just in due time.
LSU, man, it's easy. I'm sorry. We know Kelly's going to get offense out of there. You got Nussmeier coming back. They're going to have some receiver that's the next super stud that goes to the NFL.
No, they got receiver play out there.
Yeah, no, it's defense. They hadn't had a defense since Kelly's been there, and that's been what's kept LSU out of that conversation. They haven't been the LSU that can compete with Alabama, that can compete with the upper SEC, because they can't stop anybody.
Right. So they went out into the portal and tried to address it. Hopefully, when we hear about LSU, it used to be LSUD, LSU secondary, defensive linemen, linebackers. They can't fix that. Every year it's a new defensive coordinator. Every year is something new. If it's Perkins, if it's Patrick, we're sitting here like, oh God, can they play defense anymore? And I think that's the issue with them. Can't run the ball. And you just lost 2 NFL tackles, Jones and Campbell. Your interior last year, you couldn't do nothing with it. So the tackles are young. The interior is just okay. Whenever you put that pressure on Nuss got off the bus. And defensively, just don't think they're nasty enough. And they have closers, proven closers, that we can hang our hat on. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not hitting the alert button yet, but it's close.
It's getting there. And speaking of alert button, one of the low-key biggest surprises in the SEC last year, Kentucky. Bob Stoops is steady Eddie, 7, 8, maybe even pop a 9-win season. Last year, they beat Ole Miss, and that was it. You get a transfer in Calzada from a smaller school. You're throwing it on me. Just let me
Yeah, it's a rough one for them this year. I think they're on that rebuild. I just don't see the talent pool there to truly compete in the SEC. They're not quite Mississippi State, but they're close. Keep on pushing.
Georgia, man, I think the question here, Smoke, is Kirby finally getting caught up to what caught Saban? Like, you're losing 3 starters in the secondary, and you don't have that depth that you once had. Can Kirby replace what he once was just rotating dude after dude after dude? Are we about to see?
So I'm going to make a statement, and you might not like it, and it has nothing to do with the talent at Georgia. Kirby made a statement the other day. I sent that over to you that says he's not willing to have someone outside to come in and tell he and his coaching staff who are the players that they need to take. Wrong way of looking at business right now. College football is doing this, and you're doing that. And no one's knocking Kirby's ability to get talent. But the way that they did it 5 years ago, the game is switching up. And whenever the game switches up and you don't want to evolve with the game leaves you behind. And I get it. They're going to say, well, Coach Sweeney's in the ACC, not in the big boy league of the SEC. And we've seen the trenches for Georgia. So all I'm going to say is you might want to bite your words and figure out how you want to do this. One of the greatest coaches of our generation.
100%.
But when the time moves, you got to move with the time or get left behind.
I feel like Georgia's going to be one of the programs that, and look, not saying they will. They may be back in the Final Four playing for the title. They've obviously had the talent. They've got the coaching. But I think Georgia, I agree with you, Smoke. Georgia's one that I feel like I don't know what the Stockton kid can do. I'm just not sold on. We'll see. Maybe he's replacing it. I don't know.
My towel is coming out for Georgia. Just That's just me.
There we go. Florida. All we hear is about DJ Lagway. Boy, Billy Napier wasn't going to make it out of the year. But somehow he salvages some games off the back end of the season. But my question is, it's Lagway and what? Can he do it? Can Napier be consistent now?
Petty, whole lot of words. I'm going to give you one thing. The right shoulder of DJ Lagway, he has not thrown a pass. And he's not scheduled to throw a pass. We don't know what's wrong with him. He's going through spring ball without throwing a single football. Last time I checked, quarterbacks throw. So he's beat up. He hasn't thrown. So therefore, I'm hitting an alert panic button. Last week when he didn't do it in week 1, like, is this week 1? Maybe he had some type of surgery, but they haven't disclosed injury yet. So therefore, I'm hitting the title towel. High alert until he throws the football.
People are already trying to put him ahead of Arch or Nussmeier or the kid at A&M or Sellers.
Petty, I don't think you're hearing me, man. He's playing quarterback.
And he ain't throwing.
Week in spring practice. And he has not attempted a football throw at the quarterback position. This is the only reason why Florida was able to put their head above water and survive. Because the right arm of him, the belief of everybody in that building that this guy gives us a chance. When you put a hole in that air balloon and he has not thrown spring and we don't know what the injury is,
Well, and I hate to do this, and he may turn out to be the next coming of Pat Mahomes, but I feel like he's one of those players sometimes where the legend outgrows the actual reality of it. When you look at the stats, a lot of those games, he was making these miraculous plays, but he would complete 7 passes for 300 yards. So, I mean, he was on a lot of broken plays. He threw a lot of interceptions, and you're telling me he's not playing right now? That's stuff you fix from year 1 to year 2 is your ability to read the defense, the slowing down of the game. If you're not working on that right now, that game isn't slowing down for you. You're still in that youth spot, because regardless of what he did last year, he was injured a lot, didn't play a lot of football. I mean, I know there were some highlights here and there, but he wasn't the starter from day one that just went through the rigors the whole season. So good stuff. Watch out for Billy.
We got one more.
All right. We got Auburn secondary. I mean, can Freeze finally do it? They got their quarterback. They paid $2.7 million to get a mid guy from Oklahoma. They've got a great receiving core. Auburn's always had defense, but their secondary got torched last year. My question for Auburn is, can Freeze get over the hump in a competitive SEC, and do they have the defense to do it?
Hump? You're saying how many games? Give me a hump game.
I'm going to say 9, because you look.
No.
Because here's the deal at Auburn. You can't continuously lose to Alabama and Georgia, and he's yet to beat them. You can't just keep losing those 2 games.
I think they get to 7 games, 9, no dice.
Then he's on a hot-ass seat.
Not good enough.
Arkansas, we can talk about. The Sam Pittman era, I don't even know what to talk about. God bless him. I think they're just like trying to ride he's a good guy. They brought in Petrino, brought some life. The Green kid's a good quarterback, but their defense was just atrocious. Now they've kind of become their team gets picked apart in the portal by other SEC. If they got a good defensive player, so he's getting picked by Arkansas.
Petty matter of time.
Matter of time.
Yeah, matter of time. That clock's ticking.
Now let's give the Bama folks some love. All right, Bama. We're going to talk. We down to the last one, Alabama. We've talked about identity.
Petty, I got to get out of here. Give me a 2-minute clock. Here we go.
2 minute. Go with it.
2 minutes. Here we go. All right. I said it on Saturday. Go back and listen to it. There's 2 scenarios that you're going to go. So I'm not going to give you the 2 scenarios that you need to go back and watch. So I'm just going to give you this scenario tonight. The area where I think Alabama is going to surprise a lot of people is at the receiver position and the playmaking position. The quarterback position is going to play itself out. The offensive line is going to play itself out, which I believe they're good enough. And when you have a trigger man back there that can get rid of the ball in this year 2 in that system, with Ryan Grubbs coming over, not making many changes, just minor tweaks to make this thing happen, then they'll be good. I'm going to give you 2 names. Latsier Brooks. It's another up north Jersey guy. Get to know him. Dynamite play maker. Second guy from Harrisburg, PA. Rico Scott.
That's
2, 5'11", 5'10", 190-pound Waddle is type of body type with that type of explosiveness. I'm gonna give you one more on defense.
But Rico does. And let me ask this real quick, Smoke. Rico plays taller. He's the height you say, but when you watch his athletic ability, he looks like he plays taller than his height. Is that
my comp for him in high school was Deshaun Jackson because he got juice like that.
Okay.
Right. And then I'm gonna give you one more on defense. Dijon Lee, corner. He's gonna put a lot of pressure on those guys that are there. The Jacksons and the Browns and Mbakwe's, y'all better lacing up y'all straps with this young boy coming, Cali style.
You got my attention with Dijon, but I think I'm gonna take the 36,000 foot approach again, and its defensive line. Bama's defensive line wasn't up to. I'm not going to use the word the SEC standard. The SEC standard is you got to have a top defensive line if you want to have a top defense, and that means you got to make it to where your back seven can play. And if those guys can get back to where the back seven can eat and do what they got to do and take the pressure off them, I think that's the biggest question. Can this defensive line get back to elite status?
I don't think they're going to be elite, but I believe they're going to be better and good enough.
No.
The only way that you get to elite is you got to have elite players.
And I'll say this, man. I start drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to Alabama. I always believe in the Crimson and the A, but I do believe this. I like what I'm hearing. I feel like this is going to be more what we expected. And DeBoer had some stuff, man. It was a transition year. I think what people were really hyping up DeBoer to be coming in, I think we may get to see that this year, man.
Petty, you know what we're going to do? We'll continue this conversation tomorrow.
So tell me about tomorrow. Well, I think we got some guests coming tomorrow. Tell me a little bit about it.
We got two of my favorite guests coming. We got Blake Sims, newly named wide receiver coach of West Alabama, the Tigers. And I might have broke the news like Shefty. Reggie Ragland will join us tomorrow. Linebacker coach at West Alabama. So listen, you go keep going west. He might have the Crimson Tigers. I mean, that sounds blasphemous, but hey, we'll roll with it.
We'll roll with it. Hey, man.
Tiger? I mean, Sweeney already got that, so we'll just say Crimson Tigers.
Well, look, Alabama already dominates the west side of the state. Might as well just make it official, right?
There it is. Petty, I got to run.
Yeah, you got to run. Check us out. Hit that like and subscribe. Follow Coach. You've seen it under here. It's scrolling. Follow him for all of his great insights. Follow the Bama Standard on YouTube so you can get it on your station, the alerts when our shows pop off. Yeah, hey, Reggie Ragland, Blake Sims tomorrow. Don't miss out. Tons of content.
And tomorrow, Marvin Constant and Smoke, we're going to make this huge announcement. Somebody might take their shirt off and start flexing and put somebody to shame. So tune in tomorrow.
No, I think you might. I think you could get in. I know you hide them. You ain't like Marvin. You don't shop at Baby Gap.
Look at those. Those are, man, listen. Zoom
I've seen.
I just don't need to walk around. I'm a Ferrari. I only come out when needed. Marvin is, he take his Ferrari.
He's a Mustang.
He's a Ferrari. He's a one-off, but he drives his during the day when it's raining or if it's muddy outside. If I only take mine out when it's sunny and it's time to catch attention. That's it. Other than that, I leave the hood down and have you just wonder how fast can this car go.
Well, let's see how fast that car can go. Come tune in tomorrow. Like and subscribe to the Bama Center. Get all that content. We love you. We appreciate your time. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Pinch me. I'm Jamaican.
Pinch me. I'm Irish. Out.